There's a man who pulls into the office parking garage every morning in a 2009 Volkswagen Polo. Scratched side mirror, worn seat fabric, a small crack in the dashboard that he's never bothered to fix. His colleagues have drawn their own conclusions. Maybe he's between opportunities. Maybe he's carrying debt. Maybe he's just getting by. What none of them suspect is that he holds $3.8 million across a portfolio of index funds and bonds. His mortgage burned years ago. His daughter's university funds are untouchable. He could walk out of that office today and never return. He keeps the Polo on purpose. The numbers behind this choice are less surprising than people think. Research from the Millionaire next door puts the median vehicle purchase price among American millionaires at just over $31,000. An Experian automotive study revealed that 61% of households earning above $250,000 drive Hondas, Toyotas, or Fords. Not Porsches, not Range Rovers. Ordinary vehicles that disappear into any parking lot without a second glance. Meanwhile, roughly 8% of people earning under $100,000 carry luxury vehicle payments. They are spending $65,000 on a car while earning $48,000 a year. One group projects wealth. The other group has built it. These are almost never the same people. This isn't an argument for deprivation. It's an argument for understanding a mechanism that most people spend their entire lives missing. Looking unremarkable may be the single most effective financial strategy available to an ordinary person. Thomas Stanley and William Danko devoted decades to studying how wealth is genuinely accumulated in America, and their conclusions dismantled almost every popular assumption on the subject. 80% of millionaires are first-generation affluent. They built what they have from scratch, without inheritance. Half have lived in the same home for over 2 decades. They cluster disproportionately in middle-class and blue-collar neighborhoods, not gated communities. The researchers expected the opposite and were genuinely surprised by what they found. The explanation isn't complicated. High-earning professionals in visible careers tend to redirect their income toward status maintenance. They are playing a recognition game, signaling arrival, broadcasting success, confirming to the world and themselves that they've made it. Actual wealth builders are playing an entirely different game. They have internalized one simple truth. Every dollar deployed on appearance is a dollar that cannot compound over the next 3 decades. Dave Ramsey's research on millionaire behavior aligns precisely with this picture. The most common vehicles among millionaires in order are Toyota, Honda, Ford. BMW doesn't appear until well down the list. Mercedes doesn't appear at all. The examples from the top are instructive. Jeff Bezos drove a Honda Accord for years after Amazon became a household name. Mark Zuckerberg was photographed in an Acura. Warren Buffett still occupies the same house in Omaha he purchased in 1958 for $31,500. These are not people rationing their options. These are people who have consciously decided that the performance of wealth is a poor trade for the reality of it. The sociologist Thorstein Veblen identified the mechanism more than a century ago. People don't purchase products solely for function. They purchase signals. Luxury brands are not in the business of selling goods. They are in the business of selling narrative. A $40,000 watch tells the time with identical precision to a $40 watch. The remaining $39,960 purchases something entirely different. The ability to communicate status to anyone who happens to notice. Research consistently shows that people who treat money as a symbol of power and social dominance report lower financial satisfaction over time. They spend to impress, often without monitoring their actual financial position. The cruelty of this dynamic is precise. The pursuit of appearing wealthy actively constructs the conditions that prevent becoming wealthy. Every leased premium SUV represents a monthly transfer that could have entered a brokerage account. Every luxury purchase is a compounding opportunity abandoned. Every status symbol carries an opportunity cost measured not in dollars, but in decades. A 2025 Empower study found that 62% of everyday millionaires continue budgeting, hunting for deals, and avoiding extravagant spending even after crossing the $1 million mark. The habits that built the wealth are the same habits maintaining it. Visible wealth doesn't just cost money. It creates exposure. Javelin research found that while 6.4% of the general public experienced identity theft, that figure rises to 8.1% among individuals with assets exceeding $1 million. A joint study by Experian and the Department of Justice concluded that affluent Americans face a 43% higher probability of identity theft compared to the broader population. The more conspicuously wealthy you appear, the more precisely you have advertised yourself as a target. Security specialists refer to attacks on high-net-worth individuals as whaling, meticulously constructed operations that leverage social media profiles, data breaches, and open-source intelligence to impersonate financial advisors, bankers, or family members. The objective is to extract sensitive information or authorize fraudulent transfers. These are not opportunistic scams. They are researched campaigns. The Federal Trade Commission reported that Americans lost $10.3 billion to fraud in 2023, with investment fraud alone accounting for $4.6 billion, a disproportionate share targeting people who had made their financial position visible. Appearing ordinary is, among other things, a security strategy. Visible wealth imposes a social tax that compounds quietly over years. Drive a luxury car, and people assume you'll cover the expensive dinner. Wear identifiable designer clothing and colleagues expect generosity by default. Move into an affluent neighborhood and your baseline expectations inflate to match the spending patterns of everyone around you. Social comparison is relational. Status only exists relative to others, and in high inequality environments, the pressure to signal intensifies rather than relaxes. The person driving the aging Polo moves through social environments without the distortions that wealth visibility introduces. No one expects them to pay more than their share. No one resents what they assume they have. No one treats the relationship as a potential financial opportunity. Research on high net worth individuals documents a consistent paradox. As wealth increases, trust decreases. Relationships become harder to evaluate at face value. The quietly wealthy person avoids this problem entirely. Their connections were formed without financial filtering. They cannot be corrupted by it retroactively because there was nothing visible to attract it. Stanley and Danko built a framework that cuts through income levels to identify what actually determines financial outcomes. PAWs, prodigious accumulators of wealth, and UAWs, under-accumulators of wealth. The categories have nothing to do with salary. A nurse earning $55,000 a year can be a stronger paw than a surgeon earning $600,000. The determining variable is behavior, specifically the relationship between income and spending. UAWs are frequently the most visibly successful people in any room. Educated, credentialed, professionally polished, they understand compound interest conceptually. They simply don't practice it. Their spending is governed by what researchers call the better-than framework. A better car than the neighbor, a better watch than the colleague, a better holiday than the sibling. The researchers labeled these million-dollar choices because, had they gone unmade, the accumulated investment value would exceed $1 million. The arithmetic is unsparing. The gap between a $28,000 car and a $75,000 car invested over 25 years at a 7% annual return represents approximately $260,000 in foregone wealth. That is the real price of looking successful. Consider two people earning identical salaries of $180,000 per year. The first saves 25% annually, $45,000, and invests consistently. Over 25 years at a 7% average return, that position grows to approximately $3 million. This person looks thoroughly unremarkable. They drive a Polo. They live in a modest house. Their clothes are clean and ordinary. The second saves 5%, $9,000, and allocates the rest to maintaining a lifestyle that broadcasts their income. Over the same period, at the same return rate, they accumulate roughly $600,000. This person looks wealthy. Their car is impressive. Their wardrobe is recognizable. Their Instagram is aspirational. After 25 years, the invisible person has 5 times the net worth of the visible one. They have options the visible spender will never be able to construct. They have security the visible spender will never feel. The visible spender has receipts and memories. Only one of these people made choices that compound. The strategic benefits of invisible wealth extend into every negotiation. A car dealership treats a customer arriving in a decade-old Polo differently than one stepping out of a current year premium vehicle. A contractor quotes a job differently based on what the driveway tells them about the homeowner's budget. Warren Buffett once observed that he never worried about being overcharged because no one knew what he was worth. His appearance gave him leverage that conspicuous consumption would have permanently eliminated. Service providers, salespeople, and contractors calibrate pricing to perceived capacity to pay. Looking wealthy invites premium pricing across every category of purchase. Looking ordinary receives standard pricing. Over a lifetime of transactions, this differential is not trivial. The professional dynamics favor invisible wealth as well. A colleague who perceives you as comfortable treats you as an equal. A manager who perceives you as financially secure may question your hunger. A client who perceives you as modest doesn't resent your rates. The moment visible affluence enters a professional relationship, the subtext shifts. The quietly wealthy professional retains the appearance of needing the work while holding the security of not needing it. An extraordinarily strong position from which to operate. The cultural programming that drives visible consumption begins early and reinforces relentlessly. Stanley and Danko observed that young people are conditioned to believe that money, when you have it, must be displayed, and that failure to display it suggests you don't really have it. Television, social media, and advertising have all served this narrative faithfully for decades. The belief is demonstrably wrong. Its effects, however, are real and expensive. Someone who internalizes this narrative will spend their working life maintaining an appearance of success while systematically preventing its substance. They will arrive at 60 with a wardrobe of recognizable brands and a retirement account that cannot sustain them. The person who rejects the narrative builds quietly, compounds steadily, and arrives at the same point with the one thing that cannot be purchased through consumption: genuine freedom of choice. The 2009 Volkswagen Polo in the parking garage represents something that the people walking past it will probably never understand. It represents a decision to value compound growth over social approval. It represents security purchased through restraint rather than status purchased through spending. The people who glance at that car and feel quietly superior are, in many cases, the same people who will have no choice but to keep working at 68. The man stepping out of it could have stopped years ago. Wealth isn't what you show, it's what you keep and what you let grow while no one is watching.